There was a time not too long ago when a young man named Elijah sat alone on the edge of a rooftop in the middle of a roaring city, staring at the sunrise like it held all the answers to his silent questions. He was 24, jobless, barely surviving, and stuck in a cycle that seemed to have no exit sign. Born in the heart of the Bronx, raised by a single mother who worked double shifts just to put food on the table, Elijah was no stranger to pain. He had dreams, sure. He had fire once. But life had a way of snuffing out that flame, one heartbreak, one failure, one rejection letter at a time. He was tired, angry, and most of all, lost. That morning, as the sun painted the sky with burning gold, Elijah did something he hadn't done in a long while. He searched for something that would speak to his soul. He opened his phone and typed one word on YouTube: motivation. Among hundreds of thumbnails, one stood out, a black screen. Bold white letters that said, ATCH Tai Sivar Wadioi and Kanji Yayuar Life Denzel Washington motivation. Something about it pulled him in. And in that moment, without knowing it, Elijah's life began to shift. The voice that greeted him was calm but powerful. It wasn't shouting, it wasn't begging, it was reminding him of who he truly was. Ease is a greater threat to progress than hardship. Denzel Washington's voice echoed through his headphones. Elijah sat still. He listened, really listened. The words weren't just noise anymore. They were seeds. Seeds that fell on the cracked soil of his tired heart, and for the first time in years, something inside him stirred. A whisper, a flicker, a memory of what he once believed he could become. It wasn't magic, it wasn't overnight, but it was the start. That night, Elijah wrote a list. It wasn't long. In fact, it only had 3 lines. 1, wake up before the sun. 2, train your body. 3, train your mind. He posted that paper above his mattress on the wall and made a promise. He would watch that same video every single morning before doing anything else. Not because it had all the answers, but because it reminded him to ask the right questions. Because it demanded that he rise instead of wait. The next morning, Elijah woke up at 4:30 a.m. It was dark, cold, and everything inside him screamed to stay in bed. But he pressed play again. Dreams without goals remain dreams. Goals on the road to achievement cannot be achieved without discipline and consistency. Denzel's words cracked through the silence like a whip. Elijah sat up. He laced his shoes. He went for a run. His body resisted every step, but his soul had already taken the first leap. Day after day he ran. Day after day he listened. Some mornings he cried. Some mornings he fell. But he never skipped a morning. Within a month he was running faster. Within 2, he was speaking differently, not to others, but to himself. His inner dialogue went from "I can't" to "I'm learning." From maybe someday to why not today. He picked up books about purpose, about focus, about excellence. He took odd jobs, learned digital skills on free websites, and slowly began freelancing. He failed at first miserably, but he failed forward. Every no was fuel, every obstacle an opportunity to outgrow who he used to be. Then came the moment. A design agency from another city stumbled upon his portfolio on social media. They called him in for an interview. It wasn't glamorous, it wasn't big, but it was a door Elijah never would have seen if he hadn't started waking up before the sun. He took the train with trembling hands. He wore the only suit he owned. When they asked him what drives him, he didn't hesitate. He looked the director in the eye and said, "Every morning, I listen to Denzel Washington tell me that discipline and consistency beat talent when talent doesn't work. I'm not the best designer in the world, but I promise you, I will be the most consistent one you've ever hired." They hired him. Weeks turned to months. Elijah rose through the ranks. He didn't just work, he inspired others around him. He started a blog about personal growth. He began mentoring kids from his old neighborhood. The same Elijah who once stood hopeless on a rooftop was now leading workshops, teaching resilience, and sharing his journey with thousands, all from one video, one voice. One morning where he decided enough was enough. People say motivation doesn't last. Neither does bathing. That's why we recommend it daily. Elijah understood that now. Motivation was a spark, not a fire. It was a match. You had to strike it every morning and protect that flame with everything you had. And the match he used was that video. That same video. 6 years later, Elijah stood on a stage in front of 500 people at a youth conference. Denzel Washington himself was in the front row. Elijah took a deep breath and said, 6 years ago, I was broken. I thought life was something that happened to me. Now I know life is something I build brick by brick, decision by decision. I watched a video that reminded me I had the power to choose discipline over ease, vision over fear, and faith over doubt. I chose to believe I mattered. And today I'm here to remind you, so do you. Thunderous applause filled the hall, and maybe, just maybe, there was a young person in that crowd sitting at rock bottom, hearing Elijah's voice and beginning their own transformation. One sunrise at a time. Years passed. Elijah was no longer the boy with broken dreams. He had become a symbol, a walking testimony of what can happen when a person decides to bet on themselves. But even success, even purpose brings new battles. The higher you rise, the harder the wind blows. Elijah had learned to climb. Now he had to learn how to stay grounded. It was a rainy Wednesday evening in Chicago when it hit him. He was preparing for a keynote speech in a packed auditorium. His phone buzzed. It was a message from his younger brother, Marcus. The words were simple but heavy. Mom collapsed at the hospital. Come quick, time stopped. He dropped everything. The flight, the speech, the press, the media appearances. It didn't matter. Nothing else did. As he sat by her hospital bed that night, watching the machines beep and breathe for her, all his achievements felt hollow. All the stages, the applause, the awards, they didn't hold his hand like she did when he was crying at age 9 after his first failure. She was the reason he ever believed in himself. Now, life was asking him to believe again, to believe in hope, in prayer, in strength when things fall apart. In that silence, he played the video again. Fall forward, Denzel said. Elijah closed his eyes. Every failed experiment is one step closer to success. If you don't fail, you're not even trying. Those words weren't about business anymore. They were about faith, about trusting the process even when the path disappears beneath your feet. He held his mother's hand tighter and whispered, "We're not giving up." And she didn't. She fought. And Elijah was reminded that resilience isn't just for personal gain. It's for the people we love, for the ones who carried us when we couldn't walk, who saw the light in us when we lived in the dark. In the months that followed, Elijah stayed by her side. He read to her. He shared stories of kids he mentored, students he spoke to, and the lives they were changing. Slowly, she regained her strength. And with her healing, something else awakened in him, a new mission. It wasn't enough to motivate. He wanted to mobilize, to build, to provide tools. Not just inspiration, but transformation. So he started a foundation. The First Light Initiative, named after those early mornings when everything began. It provided free online mentorship, skill training, and mental health support to underprivileged youth around the world. The same kid who once had nothing now gave thousands a reason to believe in something. He began working with schools in low-income communities, prisons, shelters, anywhere forgotten voices waited for someone to listen. He played that same Denzel video before every session. Some kids laughed at it, some rolled their eyes. But over time, it clicked. They showed up earlier. They sat straighter. They started writing their own goals, creating routines, dreaming louder. And one day, after speaking at a high school in Baltimore, a girl named Imani walked up to him and said, "I watched that video for 30 days straight. And now I'm the first person in my family going to college." Elijah smiled because he had seen that spark before in himself. But fame brings critics. The media began to question him. Is motivation just performance? They asked. Do these speeches really change anything? Elijah didn't answer with words. He invited them to one of his workshops. They watched a former gang member teach digital marketing to a class of ex-convicts. They watched a single mother build her online business. They watched a homeless teen become a scholarship recipient. And they understood, because motivation isn't noise, it's a seed. And when nurtured, it becomes a movement. Years later, Elijah released a short film titled "Fall Forward, The Fire Within." It was raw, real, and intimate. He shared everything, his failures, his mental battles, his doubts. He wanted people to know that even those who inspire others still have to fight their own demons every single day. But the difference is, they keep fighting. The film opened with Denzel's voice. Don't just aspire to make a living. Aspire to make a difference. That single sentence had changed Elijah's life, and now it was changing millions more. Today, Elijah no longer watches that video every day. He doesn't need to, because he became the video. He became the voice, the reminder, and the light. But if you ask him where it all began, he will still point to that rooftop, to that morning, to that 10-minute video. He'll tell you that greatness doesn't require permission. It requires commitment. He'll tell you that pain is a teacher and discipline is freedom. That your life doesn't change by accident. It changes the moment you decide you are worth the fight. And he will tell you this. You already have everything inside you, but you must protect your flame. Feed your spirit. Train your mind, move with purpose, listen with humility, and every morning remind yourself you were not born to be average. You were born to rise. So if you're still watching this video, don't scroll away. Look at your hands. That's potential. Look at your heart. That's power. Look in the mirror. That's the only person you need to be. So get up. Watch this again tomorrow and the day after that. Until you don't need the video anymore, because the voice in your head will echo louder than any speaker ever could. And if this moved you, inspired you, or reminded you of who you are, subscribe to this channel, because this isn't just content, it's a movement. And you, yes, you are part of it now.